Hi, my name is Marco Johnson. I'm the Field Staffing Director and a Senior Field Instructor for the National Outdoor Leadership School. And what we're here to do today is talk a little bit about backpacking. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate taking all of the gear that I typically carry into the mountains with me and getting it into my backpack. So I'm going to go ahead and pack my pack using the three main principles that I follow to get all of my gear into my backpack, but I use the same principles when I'm packing my sea kayak. My friends who are horse packers use the same principles when they're packing their horses, and that's A for accessibility, B for balance, and C for compressed or condensed. You'll hear other folks use, a longer acronym, other words, but hey, the A, B, C, the accessibility, the balance, being condensed and compressed, that works really, really well. So let's go ahead and take all of this gear and let's get it in my backpack. One of the first things I want to do is actually take the larger volume items that I have, the biggest one being my sleeping bag, and turn it into a small volume item. And the easiest way to do that is to use a compression stuff sack. I feel pretty good about my compression stuff sack being water resistant, pretty waterproof, so I'm not lining it with a trash compactor bag, although that does an excellent job of making sure that you have a waterproof sleeping bag stuff sack. So I've packed my sleeping bag, turned a large volume item into a really small volume item just by the use of the compression stuff sack. Even though it's on the lighter side, I'll go ahead and take the the sleeping bag, and I'll put it at the bottom of the backpack. Kind of fills out the bottom nicely, and just lay it on its side at the bottom. And then another item that I put right next to it for a variety of reasons is my fuel bottle. One, I don't need it right away. It doesn't need to be accessible. It does help to balance my pack out, but by getting it inside, I keep it from being banged up and possibly puncturing, but also by putting it at the bottom of the pack, I'm keeping it below my food. If you've ever had any white gas fumes or actually gas itself get on your food, you know you don't want it anywhere near your food, so I keep it below it. Another thing I'll put down there is I'll go ahead and I'll take my sleeping pad and I roll it up with a nice lightweight chair that I've got, and I slide that right down on the outside as well. That protects the fuel bottle a little bit, also takes the space up that's right down there on the side of my backpack. All right. So now I've got my food left, I've got pots, I've got my shelter, and I've got my layer. So I want to go ahead and now start filling out the bottom, but I also want to go ahead and start adding weight, all right? Because the bottom layer is pretty light. Now I want weight in there because I want those dense, heavier items now to be lower in the pack to give me a lower center of gravity. Helps keep me balanced. Part of my group gear is to carry the pot. Because I've got the fuel bottle, I also have a stove. I'll take my bowl, I'll just put that inside the pot, put the stove inside my bowl. I'm using up all the available space I have. And then my part of the rations, I'll go ahead and again fill as much of the dead space as possible so that I'm just being efficient. I'll go ahead and take my pot, put it right down in my pack, and I'm going to slide it right down next to my back. And because I have a padded back piece here, I'm not going to feel it, but I'm keeping the weight down low but also into my back. By being down low and into my back, it gives me a better balance, gives me a lower center of gravity, which works really well whether I'm on trail or if I'm off trail and I need my balance even more. I've got a few extra pounds of food here that I did not get in my pot, and I'm going to go ahead and start filling out those areas of space in my pack with that food. The empty food bag I'll go ahead and use again as nice padding. I've got even more room down there. Now, given I'm in a tent group typically of 3 or 4 folks, I may not be carrying the shelter along with the fuel bottle, the stove, and the pot, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and show you that I can take the fly or the tent that I'm using for my shelter, and that out of its packing bag can be put in all those dead spaces to take up that room at the bottom of the pack. And what I've also done is I've also waterproofed all around my sleeping bag. I've kept out some trail food for the day. So now the bottom third to bottom half of my pack is packed. Really light stuff or lighter stuff at the bottom, but then that dense, sort of heavier load right on top of that, in close to my back. Now I can think about some other pieces of accessibility. As an instructor, I want my first aid kit handy, and so I'm going to put that in the outside portion of my pack. Makes it easy to get to should I need it. If you're out on a personal trip, I would do the same thing for the same reason. I'd want access to my first aid kit. Here's my rain top. And so I want my rain top accessible, but I also want one warm layer accessible, all right? And so what I can do to waterproof this, even though I want it accessible, and I find stuffing it not in a stuff sack to be a little bit easier, is I'll actually wrap it in my raincoat to waterproof it, and then just go ahead and stuff that in my pack. In this warm layer, I also have a lighter, I have a warm hat, I have my gloves, and I also have my headlamp, because this is typically the layer that I'm using at night as well. So all that stuff is readily accessible. I'll just go ahead and wrap it real quick like this. And then again, I can stuff it right here in the outside of the pack, and it's really accessible. Small pair of rain pants, and again, right there, accessible. You can go ahead and zip that off. Now I've got some extra clothing layers, and these probably not going to need during the day. You saw how here it's really accessible. I've got that one layer, that warm layer, along with my rain layers. So my other layers, again, I have nice, fairly water-resistant, waterproof stuff sack, but these can also be stuffed in plastic bags or one larger bag to line the inside, and that keeps them waterproof. So that was one bag of extra clothing. Here's the second bag, again, right on top. I got that set. My toiletries bag can go in, because again, it doesn't have to be real accessible. I won't need my toiletries during the day. Small water bottle that I actually use is my mug. Again, that's not necessary for being real accessible. And then one piece that I do want accessible is here's my Camelback, which I use as a water bottle, as a water bladder. So to protect this, I'll put this right at the top. I'll go ahead and close my pack up. I've got the hose coming out. So I'll go ahead and close my pack all the way up, and then I've got the hose out, and I'll just run this down through one of my shoulder straps, and I'll be able to sip on water during the day. It's accessible for me, easy to get to, which is really nice. A lot of backpacks actually have top lids, or what some people will call brains. You can see that mine's got these little zip side pockets on them. I like those because I can put some of the things that I want really accessible real close at hand. So here's my trail food for the day. The other side, I can put a spare set of batteries, small little pocket knife, compass, another lighter, and my sunscreen. I get that in there, and all those things are really close at hand, very easy to get to. The one last piece I'll put on the outside, and this is the center pole to my shelter. Pretty beefy and tough because it's made out of aluminum. I'll go ahead and take my lash straps after I put it in my side pocket and make sure that the lash straps are on nice and snug, and this will keep the poles from falling out and from me losing them. So here in the end, I've got a backpack that things that I need are accessible, okay? Water, food, layers, first aid kit. It's balanced because I started with lighter things at the bottom, you know, nice little layer there at the bottom. Went ahead and built on that with some heavier items that were down low but also into my back, so they give me good balance. And everything's nice and condensed and compressed, so I'm not going to lose things on the trail. Plus, I don't have things hanging out that could be punctured, like my sleeping pad, or ripped up like any of my layers, or punctured again like that fuel bottle. So now it's just a matter of putting my backpack on, and we'll go ahead and head on down the trail, because actually we want to spend our time out there, not in here, dealing with all our gear. So thanks, I appreciate your attention.
March,